Human skin color was never created to divide people. It evolved because sunlight was slowly threatening human survival from the sky. Look at any crowd on Earth for long enough, and something starts to feel almost unsettling about our species. One humanity, one shared origin, one ancient family tree, and yet somehow, human skin stretches across an enormous spectrum of color. Deep brown, copper, golden, olive, pale pink, almost every shade in between. For most of history, people looked at those differences and came to terrifying conclusions. Entire societies that detail matters more than it first appears. Evolution does not care what looks beautiful or intelligent if reproduction begins failing. Survival only matters if life continues into the next generation. So early humans faced a biological crisis. They needed a way to stay cool enough to survive the heat without allowing ultraviolet radiation to destroy the body from the outside in. And that solution became melanin, not merely pigment, not decoration, a biological shield forged by sunlight itself. The darker the skin, the more protection the body gained under intense tropical UV. What we now call dark skin was never primitive or symbolic. It was ancient survival technology helping humans endure one of the harshest environments our species had ever known. But the adaptation that protected humans so well under the African sun began changing the moment our species started walking beyond it. That's the part of the story I find most fascinating, because evolution suddenly faced the opposite problem. As groups of Homo sapiens slowly migrated out of Africa over tens of thousands of years, they entered worlds their ancestors had never known before. Colder plains, dense forests, cloudy northern skies where sunlight arrived weaker, and for shorter parts of the year. And at first, you might assume cold weather itself transformed human skin. I used to think that too. But the deeper truth is much stranger. Temperature was never the main force shaping skin color. Ultraviolet radiation was. Because sunlight was still controlling human biology, just in a completely different way now. Near the equator, the danger was too much UV damaging the body, but farther north, the danger became too little UV reaching the skin at all. Specifically, too little UVB radiation, the kind your body uses to produce vitamin D. And vitamin D is not some small biological bonus. Your body depends on it to absorb calcium, build strong bones, support immunity, and maintain healthy development. Without enough of it, children can develop rickets, where bones soften and deform under the weight of the body itself. I think that's what makes evolution feel almost tragic sometimes. The same melanin that once protected human life under brutal sunlight could now become a disadvantage in places where sunlight was weak. Too much protection suddenly blocked something essential, so over many generations, natural selection slowly favored skin with less melanin in lower UV environments. Lighter skin allowed more sunlight to penetrate the body, making vitamin D production easier under dim northern skies. But even here, evolution refused to follow simple rules. Some Arctic populations never evolved extremely pale skin despite living far north. Why? Because their traditional diets were rich in fish and marine mammals loaded with vitamin D. Their food reduced the evolutionary pressure to lighten skin. That detail completely changed the way I see human adaptation. Evolution is not neat. History is not neat. Humans are not neat. Migration, geography, diet, and sunlight kept interacting in unpredictable ways, slowly painting humanity into gradients instead of categories. And once you begin seeing human skin color as a gradient shaped by survival instead of a set of rigid categories, the entire idea of race starts feeling biologically unstable. I think one of the biggest mistakes humans ever made was confusing visible differences with deep separation, because evolution rarely creates clean lines. If you could walk across the ancient world thousands of years ago, you would never encounter a sudden border where one type of human ended and another began. You would see slow transitions instead, slightly darker skin becoming slightly lighter over generations, faces adapting gradually to climate, diet, geography, and migration. Biology moves like weather patterns, not political borders. That's why the deeper scientists study human genetics, the more complicated the old racial categories become. Human populations have always mixed, separated, reunited, migrated again, and exchanged genes across enormous stretches of time. There was never a moment when humanity split neatly into isolated biological boxes. And honestly, I think that realization makes human history both more uncomfortable and more beautiful at the same time. Because it forces us to confront how much meaning societies projected onto skin color that evolution never intended. The sun was not creating superior humans or inferior humans, it was solving a chemistry problem. Too much ultraviolet radiation threatened folate and DNA. Too little ultraviolet radiation limited vitamin D production. Melanin became the adjustment dial balancing those two dangers. That's all skin color really is at its biological core, a moving compromise between protection and absorption, and evolution found multiple ways to solve that compromise. Lighter skin in Europe and lighter skin in parts of East Asia did not emerge through the exact same genetic pathway. Similar traits appeared through different evolutionary routes, which means there was never one single moment humans suddenly became white. That idea itself collapses under biology. Every skin tone on Earth is simply one variation of human adaptation responding to different environments over immense periods of time. Dark skin is not primitive. Light skin is not advanced. No shade represents a higher stage of humanity. They are all survival records written by different skies onto the same species. And maybe that's the strangest part of all. The deeper you look into human biology, the harder it becomes to justify the divisions humans became so emotionally attached to later. And maybe that is why the story of human skin color stops feeling scientific after a while, and starts feeling deeply personal. Because today, the ancient rules that shaped human bodies no longer fully match the modern world we live in. A person whose ancestors adapted to weak northern sunlight can now spend their entire life near the equator beneath intense tropical UV. Someone whose lineage evolved under harsh African sunlight may grow up beneath cloudy skies thousands of miles away from where their biological story began. But the body still remembers. That's the part one cannot stop thinking about. Your skin is carrying information from environments you may have never seen yourself. It reflects deserts crossed by people whose names disappeared long before recorded history. It reflects coastlines followed by migrating families searching for food, safety, and survival. It reflects winters endured under weak sunlight and generations slowly adapting to skies that kept changing above them. When I look at human skin color now, I no longer see static identity first, I see movement. I see ancient humans walking into unfamiliar worlds without realizing their bodies were slowly changing in response. Not over one lifetime, but across thousands of generations so gradual that nobody living through it could ever notice it happening. And somehow, evolution turned all of those journeys into biology. The sun literally left traces of itself on human skin. I think that's why the modern idea that skin color separates humanity feels so strange once you understand the evolutionary story behind it. Because the entire existence of different skin tones is actually evidence of how connected humans are. One species adapted to many environments, that's all. Not separate creations, not separate levels of humanity, not proof that one group belongs above another, just the same species learning how to survive beneath different skies. And honestly, I find something almost emotional about that realization. Every shade of skin on Earth is a survival story. Every color is evidence that somebody endured. Somebody adapted. Somebody survived long enough to pass life forward. Your skin is older than nations, older than race, older than nearly every system humans built to divide themselves. It is ancient sunlight carried into the present, and maybe buried inside human biology is a reminder we were never as separate as we imagined. The deeper we study human biology, the clearer one truth becomes. The things humans used to divide each other were often created by survival, not superiority. Skin color is not evidence that humanity was separated into different kinds of people. It is evidence that humans adapted, migrated, endured, and survived under different skies across thousands of generations. Maybe the real lesson is this: before judging appearances, remember that every person carries an ancient history inside their body that they did not choose, but inherited through survival. Understanding biology should make us more curious about each other, not more fearful or divided by differences. What part of this story surprised you the most? I'd genuinely love to hear your thoughts. So feel free to share your opinion down in the comments for everyone to discuss together. And if you enjoy exploring the hidden biology and history of being human, subscribe to the channel and support future videos like this. There's still so much more buried inside the human story.